Hey CMA buddies, let's today start with 10.5, and 10.5 we will be talking about management control, operational control and task control. A pretty lengthy chapter, so we will break it into 2 or 3 halves and we will try to finish it. The chapter may look pretty long, but stay with me. I've tried to simplify the language as much as I could, highlighting the most important points so that you're able to remember or recollect the topics very easily, right? So let's start with the topic right away. First of all, we'll start with something called as strategic control systems, right? So what exactly is a control system? Control system, as the word itself says, it refers to the mechanism that allows managers to monitor and evaluate whether their business model is working as per the plan. Fine. So what do you mean by control? Control means you having a control over something, or you basically have having a say over what you're supposed to do and having full authority over it, right? So that's what is control all about. So hence, if you just correlate that with the strategic control systems, it simply says it refers to the mechanism that allows managers to monitor and evaluate. So monitoring is basically kind of control. So you basically what you do is managers basically monitor and evaluate whether their business model is working as per the plan and how it could be improved. So two things: first of all, whether their plans are working as per the business models, and secondly, whether how it can be improved. Then it says it is also concerned about how to create incentives to keep employees motivated and focus on important problems, and that is very, very important. If you don't keep your employees motivated, in that case you won't be able to attain the plan that you intend to. So control systems also play a lot of emphasis on how to create incentives. Incentives can be anything. It can be performance appraisal, or incentives can be any kind of other reward or promotion for that matter. So how they can basically keep the employees motivated, and also it helps you to know to focus on the important problems. It may also confront an organization in future so that employees work together and find solution that may help organization to perform better. So strategy control systems basically help you to know where exactly there may be confrontation. Confrontation is basically what? Some kind of dispute. From what perspective? From an organization perspective, so that in future none of the employees refrain from working together. So the idea of strategy control system is to encourage employees to work together so that they can find solution that may help the organization to perform better, right? So what exactly is strategy control system? What are the key points? First of all, it's basically a mechanism to monitor. For what? For whom? The managers. For what? For evaluating the business model as per their plans and how it can be improved. Also, it helps you to know, or rather it guides you how to motivate your employees, or rather create incentives for them and focus on the important problems, and that may confront on what? Important problems that may confront an organization in future, so that the employees work together and they find solution that may help organization to perform better, right? Now, relevance of strategy control from managers point of view, right? So you need to look strategy control from managers point of view, because eventually all the strategy control system helps the managers to monitor the performance, right? So what are the key aspects of or rather what is the relevance of strategic control? You can remember this as CE, CQ, CI and CR, right? CE, CQ, CI and CR. Now here C stands for control, right? The other E, Q, I and R, let's see what they exactly stands for. So first we say CE, right? So what do you mean by CE? C is control and efficiency, right? So what is efficiency, control and efficiency? It says that ratio of number of units required to produce a unit of output. So how much of inputs, or the number of units of inputs you require to produce 1 unit of output. So that's what is control and efficiency all about. Whose task is it? It is the task of the manager. He must be able to accurately measure how many units of inputs. What can be different kinds of inputs? They can be material, human resources and so on are being used. They must be able to measure the number of units of outputs they produce. So with relation to the inputs that you put in, you can measure how many number of units of outputs you basically can produce. Control system provides a yardstick. Yardstick means a benchmark, right? For what? That allows managers to assess how efficiently are they producing goods and services. So the idea of control and efficiency is basically how many inputs is required, or how many number of inputs is required to produce 1 unit of output. That's the core of it. Without control system, they will have no idea how well their organization are performing, or how to perform better in the future. So it basically gives you a guideline as to how well you are basically performing and what all steps you can take in the future to have a better performance, right? So that is control and efficiency. The second one is what? CQ. CQ is what? Q stands for quality. So control and quality, what it talks about, it says that strategic control is important in determining the quality of goods and services. So quality here basically focuses on the quality of what? Goods and services, because it gives managers feedback on product quality, right? So strategic management can help you to know about the quality of the product or the services that you're offering. If managers consistently measure the number of customers' complaints, they have a good indication of the quality of the product. So how you can basically judge the quality of a product, whether it is good or not, by taking proper feedbacks, right? And this you can analyze through knowing the number of complaints that you're receiving from your customers, right? So first one is CE, that is efficiency, that is number of inputs with respect to the number of output produced, and CQ, that talks about the quality of what? Goods and services, and how can you judge that? By knowing the feedback and the complaints from the customer. Third one is what? Third one is I. I stands for what? Innovation, right? So control and innovation. So what does it talk about? It says that successful innovation happens when managers create a setting where employees are given an opportunity to be creative. So when I talk about innovation, I am talking about the creative aspect of the employees, and where authority is decentralized. Decentralized means they delegate their freedom of, they delegate their work to the employees for them to become more innovative or rather creative. Decentralized to employees where they feel free to experiment and take risk. So basically delegation of what? Delegation of the power, or rather delegation of responsibility also, either ways, wherein they can delegate those things to employees where they become free for what? For experimenting something new and also take some risk. Now deciding upon appropriate control systems to encourage risk taking is an important management challenge. You need to know, you need to draw a line to what extent basically you can delegate. So that's one thing you need to consider as far as control and innovation is concerned, right? So innovation basically talks about the creativity aspect, and you should give them the freedom. Basically you should decentralize and they give them the freedom to experiment and to basically take the risk. So two important aspects that you need to cover here is you should give them the right to experiment and you should give them an authority to take risk, but there should be a proper control over it, because an appropriate control system only can encourage risk taking is an important management challenge. You cannot let them do anything and everything. You need to keep a keen eye on them, but obviously if you want to grow, then you should give them that freedom of taking risks, right? Finally, I talk about CR. So R stands for responsiveness to customers. So control remains as it is. So it is control and responsiveness to customers, as in how do you respond to the customer. So let's understand this. It says managers must develop a control system that allows them to evaluate how well employees are with customer contact, perform their jobs. You need to see their interaction with the customers, right? How cordial they are with them, or how approachable are are the employees with respect to the customer. Because the more approachable, more cordial they are there, this automatically helps you to enhance the business. Fine. Monitoring employees' behavior can help managers find ways to increase employees' performance level. So if you monitor them properly, you will find ways to improve their performance, identify the areas where skill trainings can help employees, and finding new procedures that allow employees to perform their jobs more efficiently. So three things that you need to remember is, first of all, how does responsiveness to customer helps? Basically, it helps you to increase their performance level, right? That's the A part. Then it says trainings. You can basically concentrate on the training aspect of that, and you can find new procedures that can help them to perform their jobs more efficiently. So that's the C. Fine. So these are the various points that you need to remember as far as the control and responsiveness of customers is concerned, right? So what did we learn here? We learned about the relevance of strategic control from manager's point of view. So first one is what? Control and efficiency, number of inputs with respect to the number of with respect to the number of output it can give, or a unit of output rather it can give. Control and quality of what? Goods and services it talks about. So it talks about two things. One is the feedback part, and the second one is customers complaint. Then it talks about the control and innovation. That means it gives you the right to take risk from the employee's perspective. So what you need to do is you basically need to decentralize. You need to give them a freedom to for encouraging risk taking, and you should give them the right to experiment things, but you should have a proper control over it. And finally, you talk about control and responsiveness to the customers. This basically helps you to know or evaluate the performance of the customer of the employees. How else it can help you is you can know the areas of skill training. You can also find new procedures that allow employees to perform more efficiently in their job, and it also helps you to increase the employees' performance level, right? So I have summarized this with the help of this diagram. You can have a look. So how strategic control is so relevant? It says strategic control ensures organization efficiency and effectiveness. How? With the help of certain aspects, that is CE, that is control efficiency, CQ, that is control quality, CI, that is control innovation, and finally control and responsiveness to the customer. So just remember E, Q, I and R, and you would be able to summarize this, right? Moving on, what are the levels of strategic control? Now there are different levels of strategic control. So strategic control system measure performance at 4 levels. So what are these 4 levels? One is corporate, divisional, functional, and individual. So corporate is the broader picture, that is the entire company on a whole. Divisional, that means division wise. So it can be HR, marketing, sales. So that's how you bifurcate that. Then you have functional. As to functional means on operational level in that particular division how you're performing. And finally, obviously, individual, how their employee is performing, or rather how is their performance being measured. So these are the various levels of strategic control that you talk about. So what are the various levels? First one is corporate, second one is divisional, third one is functional, and the fourth one is individual. So managers must develop appropriate measures at all levels, especially the first 3 of evaluation. So corporate, divisional, functional is very, very important because it focuses a lot of importance on the organization's performance per se. So if you just remember BSC, that is balanced scorecard approach, we have already covered that before. As per BSC approach, these measures should work in tandem. That means they should work in line with respect to what? With respect to the goals of the organization. So as per the BSC approach, these measures should work in tandem to achieve the goals of the organization with viewpoint of developing competencies. Competencies is in what? In efficiency, quality, innovativeness, and responsiveness to the customers. These are all those 4 points which I have covered earlier before this, where we spoke about the relevance. Fine. So this is what it talks about. It must be ensured that standards at each level do not cause problems to the other levels. So they should work hand in hand, but at the same time they should make sure that they don't create any kind of chaos for the other levels. Fine. So what are the various strategic control hierarchy levels? First is corporate. So corporate talks about overall organization strategic evaluation. That is the broader picture as we just discussed about. Then divisional, that talks about assessment of business unit performance. Then functional, evaluation of specific departmental operations. So whatever you do in divisional, what is the operation that you're following, that comes under the functional category. And finally you talk about the individuals, that is the individual employees of the organization. So performance measures for the individual employees, right? So this is the strategic control hierarchy. Now moving on, types of general control systems, right? So when we talk about the general control systems, we have 3 types of control systems. So what are they? One is personal control, second one is output control, and third one is behavior control. So that's what we will be discussing now, right? So these are the types of general control systems. Please remember, these are the general control systems. So when I say general control system, I talk about personal control, I talk about output control, and I talk about behavior control. So it is POP. That is the types of general control system. So what exactly is personal control? Let's start with P first. It says, decide to shape and influence the behavior of a person in face-to-face interaction in pursuit of a company's goals. So the idea is to basically shape or nurture the employee and influence the behavior of the person. So the concentration is more on influencing the behavior of a person with respect to what? With respect to face-to-face interaction in pursuit of company's goals. So whatever the goal is of the company is, according to that, you got to shape up or influence the behavior of the person. So that's what the personal control all about. What is the kind of personal control? One is direct supervision from a manager who's higher up in the hierarchy. So any manager which is over and above you, he basically can directly supervise you. So that is the kind of personal control. Person, how do you control a person? The person can be controlled only if he has some kind of authority over and above him. So in this case, this authority is what? Direct supervision from the manager. So that's what is kind of personal control. Now, this approach is useful because managers can question subordinates about the problems or new issues that they are facing to get better understanding of situation and to ensure that subordinates are performing efficiently and not hiding any information that can cause additional problems later. This may look pretty long, but it is very simple. What it simply says is why this approach is so very important, because first of all, managers can basically ask the questions from their subordinates about the problems or any kind of new issues that they are facing, right? So that they are able to understand the situation in a better way and to ensure that subordinates are performing efficiently. So first of all, knowing the problems. So you know the problems first, know the problem, that's the first thing. Second thing is basically you check the efficiency of the employee's performance. And third one is just to ensure that they are not hiding any information. So not hiding anything, not hiding any information that can cause additional problems later. So with this respect to this point, first of all, you know the problem, then you check the efficiency, and you also have to ensure that nothing, which is very important, is being hidden from the managers, right? Personal control can come from the group of peers. Group of peers means your entire team. Group of peers is nothing but a set of people, such as people working in teams. That's what I told about. This creates more possibility for learning to occur and competencies to develop. So when you work in a team, you basically get to know what are the various possibility for learnings and what are the competencies that you should develop, or what are the skill sets that a team should develop, and opportunities to prevent any shirking. Shirking means avoiding any duty or responsibility. That means you running away from the duty or responsibility. So basically personal control can come from a group of peers. PS means what? People working in teams. This creates more possibility for what? For learning to occur. First of all, it helps you in the learning. Second thing is you basically try to develop certain kind of skill set or the competencies. And thirdly, it says opportunities to prevent any shirking. So avoid duty or any responsibility. So that's what is personal control all about, right? So if you look at the pros and cons of personal control, you basically have a better understanding. If I talk about the pros, you can have an efficient performance, or rather you can judge the efficient performance of the employees. Prevent shirking. Shirking, as I said, is nothing but avoiding duty or the responsibility, and it gives you a lot of learning opportunities. But what are the various cons? Personal control, there is a micromanagement risk. Micromanagement means for every smaller thing, managers should not so some of the managers have a tendency to look into each and every little aspect. So that creates what? That basically tends to take employees on a back foot, saying why I am being so micromanaged. So that's what is the micromanagement risk. Then reduced autonomy. That means you are not given full power. So that's one thing. Manager will have a lot of say in the things that you do. And potential resentment. Resentment means there is a side of reluctance. That is why everything is being looked into. So that's one of the cons. So if you just remember the pros, that's more than sufficient. It says it gives you a better understanding, efficient performance, prevent shirking, and the learning opportunities. So that's what we have discussed in personal control, right? Moving on, what is the next one? Next one, we talk about the output control, right? If you remember the general control system, we had three things. First one is P, that is personal control, we have already discussed. Now we'll be discussing the O, that is the output control. Output control, it says what? It specifies what is to be accomplished by focusing on end result. So that is the output. Fine. So what you need to accomplish by focusing on the end result, right? So that's what is output control all about. A system where managers forecast performance goals for each division, department and employee, and then compare actuals with the goals. So basically it gives you an idea, or it gives you a platform to basically forecast your performance. Who forecast this? The managers forecast it. For what? For first of all the divisions, then all the departments, and then eventually all the employees, and then they do what? They basically compare the actuals with the standard, right? So that's what is output control all about. These controls are appropriate when specific output measures have been agreed upon. That means these output measures have been already discussed, say at the beginning of the year, and they just try to ensure that whatever framework has been laid down at the beginning of the year, whether they are being complied to it or not. So that's what is output control all about. Companies reward and incentive system is linked to the performance of these goals. So output control provides an incentive structure for motivating employees at all levels. So whatever output you give, on the basis of that only you would be able to know what incentives you are supposed to give to the employees for the work they are doing, or rather their efficiency. So this basically helps you, or rather this helps the company to know the reward and incentive system which is linked to the performance of these goals. Goals help managers to know how well their strategies are creating a competitive advantage and building distinctive competencies that leads to future success. So that will also help the managers to analyze whether the strategies that have been laid down are competitive enough, and how they can build distinctive competencies. That means a good skill set that can lead to future success. Fine. Division goals state managers' expectations pertaining to each division concerning performance at different dimensions. So it can help managers to know about the different dimensions. What are these different dimensions? Efficiency, quality, innovation, and responsiveness to the customers. Same thing that we discussed when we spoke about the relevance of strategic control, strategic system control system. So these are the 4 points that you remember. You basically can reiterate in every other controls that we are talking about. So the dimensions that the manager can concentrate on can be efficiency, quality, innovation, and responsiveness to the customers. Output control at functional and individual levels is a continuation of the control at the divisional level. So if you remember, we did corporate level. So what are the various levels? Corporate, division, functional, and individual. So whatever you do in the divisional level, that has a direct impact on the functional and the individual level. That's what it talks about. Fine. Now, achievement of goals is a sign that company's strategy is working. So if you are able to attain your goals, that will help you to know that company strategy is working and meeting the organization's wider objectives. So you ultimately tend to achieve whatever you intend to, whatever the goals of the organizations are. Inappropriate use of output control create conflict among divisions. So you have to make sure that the output control is being monitored properly and there's no conflict, because eventually that can lead to conflicts amongst various divisions. Moreover, in order to reach output targets, divisions may start to distort the numbers. That means they may start to manipulate the numbers. As in, my division is better than yours. So what I would do is, eventually I would say, for example, there are two divisions, A and B, under the same department, say IT. So if A is doing well and B isn't, then B may try to manipulate the numbers. So that's one thing that you need to be aware of because of the output control. So moreover, in order to reach output targets, divisions may start to distort the numbers and engage in strategic manipulation of figures to make their divisions look good, which can increase bureaucratic cost. So if the numbers are being manipulated, that can basically increase the bureaucratic cost. So that's what is output control all about. So what are the various points in output control that you need to remember? First of all, it is the core system for achieving organizational goals. Fine. Performance goals, which says about specific targets for divisions and employees. You can have an incentive structure, that is motivation through rewards and incentive, and strategic manipulation, that the last point we read, potential negative consequences of control, right? So if you just run through it again, you would be able to recollect the output control. I tried to simplify it. Finally, we come to the last part of today's video, wherein we will be talking about the behavior control. So what exactly is behavior control? So what is the third one? These are the general control systems. I'm repeating again so that you don't forget. So general control system, we have three things. First is P, that is personal control we spoke about. Then we spoke about the output control. Finally, we are talking about the behavior control. That stands for, that is B, behavior control. So control achieved through the establishment of comprehensive systems of rules and procedures. So behavior control is nothing but it is basically comprehensive systems of rules and procedures. For what? To direct the actions or behavior of divisions, functions, and individuals. Intent of behavior control is to standardize the way or means of reaching the goal. So you basically you lay down a set of guidelines, or you rather standardize the way or means of reaching the goals. So, basically that's the intent of behavior control. So you need to know what all ways through which we can reach the goals. That's what behavior control does it. By what? By laying down proper rules and procedures. Fine. Rules standardize behavior and makes outcomes predictable. So what is the relevance of rules? It basically standardizes your behavior, as in it will tell you in what way you are supposed to behave, and with the help of that you would know that this is the outcome that would be attained. So that makes outcomes very predictable. Primary kind of behavior controls are operating budgets, standardization, and rules and procedures. Rules and procedures is something which I have already discussed. Other than that, what are the various kinds of behavior control? One is operating budgets, then you have standardization, and rules and procedures, something we are already aware of. So these three things, operation budget is something you need to remember. Standardization and rules and procedures is something which we have already discussed. So this is all about behavior control. So let's have a look at the diagram. Hierarchy of behavior control. First is goal achievement. That's what we intend to. Standardization, operating budgets, rules and procedures. So if you just remember all these key points in behavior control, you would be able to elaborate, right? With this, we finished the first part of the chapter. And in the second part of chapter, we'll be looking at the other aspects of the control system. That is operation control, task control, management control, so on and so forth. So thank you for joining. If you like the video, please press the like button and do subscribe to the channel. And if any of your friends are going through the same topic, consider sharing the video with them. Right? Thank you and hope to see you soon. Happy learning.